Of all the stories that have come out following the death of the legendary Ozzy Osbourne, one of the most powerful comes from a man who stood next to him on stage for the better part of 60 years. It's one thing for us, the fans, to see the icon on stage for one last time. It's another thing entirely to be his brother in arms, his lifelong friend, and to see him in a way that nobody else could. Black Sabbath's final show on July 5th was a massive historic event. It was a celebration of one of the most important bands to ever exist, but behind the scenes, a much more personal and heartbreaking story was unfolding. Bassist Geezer Butler has now shared what he saw, and his account of Ozzy's final days gives a perspective that changes how you see that entire final performance. This wasn't just another concert, it was a 10-hour-long tribute hosted by actor Jason Momoa, featuring a lineup of rock royalty. We're talking about Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slayer, Tool, Steven Tyler, Fred Durst, Jonathan Davis. Everyone was there. There was a legendary drum battle with guys like Travis Barker and Chad Smith, all paying homage to Sabbath. It was a spectacle meant to honor a giant. And when the moment came for the main event, Ozzy Osbourne was brought onto the stage in a way that only he could be. Seated on a massive black throne, decorated with skulls and a bat, he was the king on his throne, ready to hold court one last time. And for that entire set, singing classics like Crazy Train and Mama, I'm Coming Home, he remained seated, a powerful figure reigning over the kingdom of metal he helped build. But in an essay for the Sunday Times, Geezer Butler revealed the reality of the situation was far more stark than the public could have known. He knew Ozzy had been dealing with health problems for years, but even he wasn't ready for what he saw when they gathered for rehearsals. Butler wrote, "I knew he wasn't in good health, but I wasn't prepared to see how frail he was." That one sentence alone just hits you. This is his friend of nearly 60 years. He continued, saying, "He was helped into the rehearsal room by 2 helpers and a nurse and was using a cane. Being Ozzy, the cane was black and studded with gold and precious stones. Even in his frailty, he was still Ozzy. But the image is jarring. The Prince of Darkness, the man who defined heavy metal, needing that level of assistance just to get into a room with his bandmates." Butler said Ozzy didn't say much, and when he sang, he had to sit in a chair. The rehearsals themselves were a struggle. Butler noted, "We ran through the songs, but we could see it was exhausting him after 6 or 7 songs. We had a bit of a chat, but he was really quiet compared with the Ozzy of old." So when you picture that final show with Ozzy on his throne, it wasn't just a gimmick or a piece of stagecraft. It was a necessity. He was giving every last bit of energy he had. At one point during the show, Ozzy told the tens of thousands of fans in attendance, "You have no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." Hearing Geezer's account, that simple sentence takes on a whole new layer of meaning. Now, the strangest and most poignant part for Butler, though, was the very end of the night. After the last note was played, the reality of the situation became clear. He wrote, "Normally we would all hug each other and take a bow to the audience, but Ozzy was on the throne, and we hadn't thought that out. What do we do?" Imagine that for a second. The end of a nearly 60-year journey, and the 4 of them are on stage, and they don't know how to say goodbye. There was no final, triumphant group hug. Butler said, "Tony shook his hand, I presented him with the cake, but it was such a strange feeling to end our story like that." It was definitely a powerful moment in rock and metal history, but nobody on that stage knew that just over 2 weeks later, Ozzy would be gone. And this is where Geezer Butler's message becomes truly heartbreaking. After walking through the details of that final show, he summed up the weight of it all. "I wish I'd had more time backstage with Ozzy, but wishes are redundant now. As Ozzy used to say, wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which comes first." He continued, "Nobody knew he'd be gone from us a little more than 2 weeks after the final show, but I'm so grateful we got to play one last time together in front of his beloved fans." The love from the fans and all the bands, musicians, singers, and solo artists that night was incredible. Everyone had come to pay homage to the Prince. To close out the tribute, Geezer wrote what might be the most difficult thing for any friend to write. "I am so privileged to have spent most of my life with him. Of course, there are millions of things I will think of that I should have written, but how can I sum up 57 incredible years of friendships in a few paragraphs? God bless Oz. It's been one hell of a ride. Love you." Years before his death, when asked about his own legacy as his health declined, Ozzy himself said, "Survival is my legacy." And in the end, he did more than just survive. He fought to get on that stage one last time, not just for himself, but for the fans and for the bandmates who were his brothers. Geezer Butler's story is a powerful behind-the-scenes look at the strength and frailty of a legend, and the final, quiet moments of one of the greatest friendships in rock and roll history. What are your favorite memories of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath? Share your thoughts down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Rock Feed for the latest news and updates about your favorite bands.